Looks like we're live here. So, as expected, the far left, VOX Media, the far left, Carlos Maza, has done it. Now, this was sort of expected because once he started complaining about it, YouTube felt that they had to do something. But what was it? What exactly did they do? Well, here it is. Now, case in point, I never monetized this channel yet. And I just started a month ago because I was like, you know what? I had this sinking feeling that some wacky stuff was about to happen. And lo and behold, it happened. Now, if you look at Tim Pool, he hasn't been hit yet. Okay? Not yet. He thinks he is, but I kind of doubt it. As you can see, the last couple of videos he did here, just on Timcast, Vox's Scorched Earth plan worked. That's a good video to watch. It says YouTube demonetized Steven Crowder and others. And here's an update. Now, Sinatra Says and James Alsop, gone. Well, I mean, their channels are still there, but their way of making money is gone. Okay? Now, if you see anything from Sinatra Says, it's pretty benign stuff. It's just some commentary, some, edgy humor, maybe. He's always calm. He never yells. James Alsop, I think he's an identitarian, but as far as I can see, he's not out there fleecing the masses and, scorching, refugee camps, if you will. And then it came for Vincent James. Now, his content is very much, it's almost like Tim Pool. He's got 2 channels. He got axed. Well, I mean, his channels are still there, but, I mean, he's not making any money off YouTube AdSense and the partnership program. But you know who still has their partnership program? This guy right here, Carlos Maza. And VOX. As far as I know. And Tim Pool said that there's a couple of news reporters. I can't forget their names. You can watch the video and he'll let you know about it. Got their channels demonetized as well. News people, independent journalists. See ya. Sinatra Says, he stated that a couple days ago, 3 of his videos were manually demonetized, and he got them back up. Then all of a sudden, the snapping gone. So what now? Well, I mean, once the dust settles, I guess most people were. My plan was, and once I get enough subscribers and enough people watching, I would start, if you want to donate, cool. If not, I wasn't gonna be like, have like a super chat and, have people just, because I thought, super chats are kind of lame. Maybe I was gonna do it, maybe I wasn't, I don't know, but I thought it was kind of lame. But I wasn't gonna do anything. I wasn't gonna have, monetize this channel for anyway. Just like the same thing with Styx Hexenhammer. I gotta find out if he got axed. But usually in the morning after he does his 3rd or 4th video, he disappears into the night until the next morning. So yeah, this is the new normal now. This is the new normal. Crowder got demonetized, as you'd expect, but upon further review, he was allowed to. There was a couple things he had to do. He had to remove the link to his T-shirt that says "Socialism is for figs." Edgy, but yeah. And I think a couple other videos. One of the videos he had to take down because it was deemed offensive. But he was interviewing Blair White, who's a transgendered female. Well, I mean, Blair White was male. Now she's female. I don't know how to. I'm still working that over, but yeah. there it is. And he just did a I don't know how long Crowder did that. Let's see. Crowder was on earlier live with his half Asian lawyer Bill Richmond. I don't know if it's up. It's the stream is still going, even though it's not. Even though they're not broadcasting anything. But yeah. So this basically is not affect. This won't affect people like Carlos Maza. Why is my dog going nuts? Carlos Maza or Vox. They're still monetized. Of course. Why wouldn't they? They're far left. And by the way, in my previous video earlier today, I just want to let everyone know that Vox Media is indeed far left. The Washington Post is far left. The New York Times is far left. Carlos Maza is far left. Far left, far left, far left. Make no bones about it. Those media companies aren't going to be hurt by any chance. They're not hurt, and they won't be hurt. Little creators, such as myself, such as, I don't know anybody else, such as, I'm not going to bring anybody out, but the smaller creators who just basically started are saying, well, what the heck? Don't expect these people to go to Patreon. What is Patreon going to do? They're going to ban you, much like Sargon of Akkad, Count Dankula, etc. Anything edgy now, apparently, is gone. Well, here we go. Aaron Simpson. So, anything... So, I guess edgy humor is gone. I asked my son to scrub the... he's not into this political BS crap. I asked him to go onto the more of the gaming channels to see if they got hosed over this whole VOXpocalypse. I think that's hashtag VOXpocalypse. Here we go. VOXpocalypse. Hashtag VOXpocalypse. There you go. So from now on, apparently, I am going to have to self-censor. So the days of, well, it's actually the last month where I would have to, I let off a couple F-bombs and stuff like that. I guess I can't do that anymore. Or I'm going to get strikes, or I don't know. But I'm not on their radar yet. But once I make it on their radar, that'll make a difference. So I don't know. It's wow. It's kind of interesting. It's like I thought. I mean, earlier I thought I was talking to my wife, and she's like, whatever. She didn't give a crap. She's like, whatever. You're not making any money. Who gives a crap? Okay. She asked me, what else? Isn't there anything else important ongoing in the world? And I had to think for a second. I was like, let's see. Yeah, I guess. I mean, is there more important things going on in the world? Of course. But for right now, this is more important for people this affects. I had a couple of ideas of some videos I wanted to do but this is the topic du jour of today. I haven't checked Twitter yet. I'm afraid to, because I know it's going to be a dumpster fire of, social justice warriors and, fascists out there, doing their usual, oh, the conservatives are just, what, are you afraid of some milkshakes? No, throwing a milkshake at somebody, as Carlos Maza purported, is recommending to people to do to get rid of people, dissent, if you will. That's what he wanted. Okay, go to the chat here. Aaron Simpson says, yeah, YouTube unable now. It's funny how they can demonize everyone but YouTube, get money for the views and traffic. It's utterly stupid. Why would anyone continue to make videos? Well, that's true. If you do have a presence, or let's say if you got over 50,000 subscribers, maybe up to 1 million, etc. Crowder's got 3.8 million. You have ways to make money. I don't have an audience like that. I get 28 subscribers so far. if I go, you know, I'm just like I'm a fart in the wind apparently. But Mr. Simpson over here in the chat, you are correct. Why would anyone make videos? Because you're gonna get people that say, like, for instance, well, if you love doing it, you can do it for free. And I think I was watching James Alsop, and he said, yeah, you can make it for free, but try having, say, a plumber, I'm using his words, make it for free, or come to your house for free, you know, replace your garbage disposal for free without any. You see, money is a good exchange for goods and services. Why would you not? It's kind of like this. A lot of times, I know a lot of older people who are, once you get older, they kind of like, they might mow the church lawn for free, you know, just giving back to the community or something like that. But they don't do it every single day because mowing grass costs money. Because you have to put fuel, you got to change the oil every couple of months or whatever in your tractor or your push mower, etc. Why would you do this for free? Why would you be making videos for free? Why am I doing it for free so far? What do I do for free? Exactly, Simpson. Free don't pay the bills. Exactly. That's why it's funny when a lot of anarchists and say, you know, the anarchists will come out and say, you know, there should be no government. Yeah, but then what? You can't. Humans aren't good without structure. I'm sorry to say. You know, I could see, you know, an anarchist society and go, okay, yeah, maybe that would work for about 2 minutes. Then you get some Negan scumbag with a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire smashing skulls trying to, you know, impede his will on everyone else. So, yeah, this is, I guess, looking on the outside in, it's kind of funny. I do it for free because I've got a lot of time on my hands. I don't want to get into that, but I got a lot of time on my hands. I think one of my videos I mentioned that I retired from the military, but I've been retired for, let's see. Wow, let me think. Almost 6 years. So I'm in a position where I've got a lot of free time on my hand, and I can do a lot of things. And I thought I'd start making videos, you know, something that, you know, stop me from yelling at the TV, my wife rolling her eyes and like, oh God, what are you doing again, Laszlo? Ooh. So I figured, I was like, I'll make some videos. And then not even a month later, the ADPOCALYPSE happens. The VOX, hashtag VOXPOCALYPSE 2.0. Well, actually, this would be like ADPOCALYPSE would be 1.0. That'd be considered like the Great War. And then this VOXPOCALYPSE is not really World War II. It's more like the Korean War because it was started by someone else. Like, for instance, VOX, which would be North Korea / China. How fitting, if you will, attacking South Korea. And so, bad metaphor, I know, but yes, Simpson. He did say he was sorry to all those people. Yeah. 3.0. So free thinking Texan, what do you mean by the 3.0? Maybe I'm lost here. I know this is I thought this is 2.0, so it's 3.0? Huh, interesting. Well, I mean, I guess at this point it doesn't really matter. This isn't as we know, this won't affect VOX. It won't affect BuzzFeed. It's gonna affect Steven Crowder a little bit because he's got the Mug Club, and it's not tied to PayPal. It's not tied to Patreon, Subscribestar, etc. It's his own thing. Now, I do see this happening, and it's already been happening, where last night Crowder had Tim Pool on, and he was interviewing him, and Tim Pool brought up a very interesting thing that's been happening. And I'll give you an example he gave. He says, like, let's say somebody with that's deemed far right, and that's a very ambiguous term. What is far right? Far right to Carlos Maza is like anyone right of Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, and Stalin and Lenin. That one guy from Romania that got killed, Mussolini, if you will. Oh yeah, the ad ban on family channels. Yeah, but that was kind of like a minor brush fire, if you will. And yeah, so she got axed and she went over to BitChute, but she still has her channel, sort of. So back to Tim Pool's analogy here. If someone they deem far right, and like I said, that's pretty ambiguous. They say they go into a flower shop and they order some flowers. And they leave. And so some media jackbooted thug from Vox Media rolls in there and goes, "Do you support far-right propaganda?" And the flower shop goes, "Why? No, why? No, of course not." And he goes, "Did you know you just sold flowers to Johnny X?" "I did not know that." He goes, "I would hate to have to write something on you, a hit piece, to say that you support right-wing or far-right-wing, people. And so next time that guy goes in there, Johnny X, to buy some flowers, the manager goes, "I can't support you. I'm sorry, because the jackbooted thugs of far left Vox Media and Carlos Maza, a far leftist, if you will, came in and deemed that you were a far right entity, and I can't sell to you." And that's what they're going to do now. Is you're going to see whoever Crowder banks with. Mark my words here. They're going to go, those people, those far left jackbooted thugs are going to go to those banking institutions and try to get them to push out anybody they deem far right. Meaning right of Pol Pot, Lenin, Stalin. I'm not going to say that other guy, Mussolini, So yeah, so let's see what Aaron here said. Why can't people get into their head that people can make jokes no matter how dark they are, and how anyone can learn from about history, about the words and mistakes if people are like, nope, okay. From what I understand what you're saying, right. If you remember that comedian George Carlin, and you can still search for George Carlin on YouTube for now. In the 90s, he did a whole stick on racial terms. And I'm not going to get into them because I'm not going to get into it because but you can find it yourself, okay? I'd love to play it. I remember this. He did that comedy show in 91 or 92, and it was so funny because what these big techopolies, these jackbooted thugs in Silicon Valley don't understand is context. Now, what I'm going to paraphrase George Carlin, what he said here. Basically, it's this. It's the context of the joke. It's the exaggeration. So if let's say you make a racial joke and you're not racist. Comedians do this all the time. So if you make a joke, let's just say you just make a joke, all right? And you're just trying to be a dick. And you drop a couple N-bombs here and there, and it's like, okay, that's dumb. That's borderline racist, and it's not funny. If you can construct a joke that clearly defines the context and the exaggeration, saying like, let's just say, for example, gotta be sensitive here. You know what? I can use it about white people. Because you can joke about white people all day long. You could crap on them. You could call them, white people can't dance and they can't jump. Apparently that's okay. But the minute you change the color of that joke to somebody else, saying X can't do Y, therefore Z, racist. Which is kind of funny. But the two main things here I want to say is context and the exaggeration. Apparently, that's lost on the millennials and tech in the Silicon Valley. It's lost on them. Let's see. Because it hurts their feelings, from Free Thinking Texan. It challenges their comfy worldview. Yes. Why is the media can show from Simpson put X person who did a shooting and glorify them and not be banned, and then wonder why more shooting happens? I don't know. I don't think. For instance, remember that school shooting last 2 weeks ago? One of the person who shot up who sadly did the shooting was considered themselves transsexual. But as soon as that person was deemed transsexual, media silence. You don't ever hear about that school shooting, do you? You will by the Democratic 65,000 people trying to run for president on the Democratic liberal side. But you don't hear anything about it. It's gone. Like a fart in the wind. So, and then the shooting in Virginia Beach. Did they mention what the color of the guy was? Like, no, not that it matters. That's kind of important on how the media presents the news. See what I'm saying? If it's a protected class, it'll be out of the news cycle as quick as I can fart. But if it's a person deemed evil, such as anybody white, apparently, it gets pounded in. And especially some of these last couple of, mass shooters, they were liberal. They were Democrats. They were far left. So what does that say about the news media? What are they telling us? And what aren't they telling us? Because they tell you, but you have to dig deep. Because if you just watch the ABC News, NBC News, CBS News, they don't tell you crap. And why should they? Because they're just waiting for the next tweet from Donald Trump so they can get all pissed off about. Or a perceived protected class being mocked, criticized. And that's the problem now. I was hoping everyone understands. You cannot. So the days of mocking somebody for their ideas, gone. You can't do it. Now I cannot. I'm seeing how this works. Carlos Maza now is a protected entity. You cannot attack him. I'm going to still attack him. Not personally. I'm attacking his ideas. And I'm not talking about violence, how he wanted violence against people who he doesn't agree with, milkshakes. I'm talking about I'm going to challenge his ideas with every fiber and being of my body. His ideas suck. His content on VOX sucks. In his own Twitter bio, he calls himself a Marxist pig. And you know what? He's a Marxist pig. I agree with you, Carlos Maza. You're a Marxist pig. And also, either he's slandering or saying something libelous against Tucker Carlson. In the same Twitter bio, quote, Tucker Carlson is a white supremacist. He's not being joking. He's serious. Tucker Carlson is not a white supremacist. Just because you don't agree with somebody doesn't make him necessarily a bad person. Like, for instance, I don't agree with most of anything what Carlos Maza says. Now, I called him a fascist because he's acting like a fascist, and he has fascistic tendencies. And like Free Thinking Texan, you said, bad ideas should always be mocked. Absolutely. Mockery is a form of criticism. And if YouTube is going to say you can't criticize this person because they're a protected class, or they have one arm and therefore you can't joke about it. It's getting crazy. Let me go back to the chat here. Let's see. Didn't we all learn the simple rule of stick? And sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me in kindergarten. Yeah, but I assume free thinking. You're probably as old as I am. Those days are long gone. I remember used to getting bullied in middle school and high school, but you know what? You had to suck it up. I mean, there was really no outlet. Because I graduated in '93, so there was no outlet for teacher. This guy's making fun of me. Yeah, what am I gonna do? So people like Carlos Maza, they have big backing from NBC, possibly George Soros, but I have no proof of that, and lots of cash. And they can basically go out there, make all sorts of claims against people, and whine about it and go, Steven Crowder will say mean things to me. So what? What people don't realize, and Tim Pool and some others have mentioned this, Vox Media and Carlos Maza just screwed all the smaller content creators out there. All of them. And when I mean by all of them, I'm talking about 100%. Because basically now, it's not like they couldn't do it before, but now they can change their terms of service like that. And guess what? Like that, your channel could be gone. Let's say you got 25,000 subscribers and you say something that was okay, but all of a sudden YouTube just goes, nah, I don't like it. There goes your channel. Gone. Because they retroactively screw you. And that is what they're doing right now. Is they're retroactively screwing every small creator out there. Gone. Yes, let's see. Apparently not, but let's teach our kids that if you don't like something or you don't get your own way, let's scream, save space. Yeah. That's essentially what happened. Carlos Maza and Vox has created a really Orwellian safe space on Twitter. Let's see if it doesn't fit their narrative exactly. There are some MPs in the UK that want to let people have guns. Members of Parliament, okay. Like the USA, and like we can't even stop stabbings and knife crime. Which I was stabbed in the past. I'm like, this is crazy. Yeah, it's kind of funny. If you see in the webcam there, that book, The British Political Thought from 1500 to 1660. You see it up. Hold on, let me see get a... hold on. Wait, what? Wait a minute. What the heck? Am I still up? Sort of. Okay. But yeah, most of, if not all, of what the United States Constitution was written and developed from, it was from people in that book right there by Glenn Burgess. That was a book I was in grad school for history, and I had to read. And it was probably one of the hardest books I read, but I enjoyed it because a lot of the literature in there, a lot of the people described on, like, basically was saying, like, yeah, you should have some sort of free speech, but it wasn't like our modern day sort of free speech. It was a little different, but that's a great book. It's not for the faint of heart, and I don't think anybody can read it. It took me a while to read it, but I still have the tabs all over it when I was going through it. But it's a great book. There's a lot of great English philosophers and statesmen who thought free speech and charting your own path without some monarch determining what you can and can't say was the way to go. Now, it took them a long time, but it's, you know what I mean? It's still developed, because it just didn't happen overnight. Now you're seeing something like this, and then overnight on a platform like YouTube, just disappearing. Not only stabbings, but driving trucks into crowds. Yep, that's exactly. I was in Portugal in 2016 when that guy drove the truck into the Bastille Day in what town was that? It was on the coast of France, and that was pretty. And then after that happening, then there were stabbings in Germany. I was like, I'm in the wrong place. So yeah, so you see. If it is good enough of an idea, it will survive any attempt to mock it. There you go. If you cannot defend your stupid ideas, such like Carlos Maza has, and he does have some stupid ideas, and I'm a history major, so when I look at his stuff, all he doesn't address the other side. He only addresses the left-leaning side. And he doesn't go, okay, the left says this, but what does the right say? Never says it, because he knows that it'll debunk his video like that. See, Simpson said, I've been bullied in the past, disowned by my family, stabbed in the neck. God dang. While I was homeless at 15. I have agoraphobia, xenophobia, can't even leave my house, and because I'm white, I'm a bad guy. God dang. Well, apparently you have some money and you're on the internet, so that's a good thing. And then Texas said the only way to truly fix this is the alternative platform to compete. Yeah, true. Easier said than done, but needs to happen to stop the censorship. Yeah. Unfortunately, what some of the creators were saying today is that this is going to follow all the way to Gab, Minds, BitChute, where else? DLive, Twitch. It's already on Twitch, but so this basically, if you're looking a metaphorical hill to die on, it's on YouTube. Because if you lose your redoubt, your fortifications on this metaphorical hill that is YouTube, then everything is downhill. I have a funny feeling that pretty soon then the government's going to come in and basically create regulation. And I am not a fan of regulation, but in this instance, I think something needs to be done. And granted, I don't want the government to come in, because the government is always happy to come in and do something that you can do for yourself, but you're just too lazy to, do it. The government will basically come and goes, yeah, like the mob. They'll come and go, yeah, I can come in here and do this. Are you sure you want me to do this? Because, you're going to have to pay me back. And to pay the government back, they always take their money. You can't be late, and they're going to charge interest. Right. Yeah, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, and treat everybody as you want to be treated. Right, that's like the golden rule. One of the things is that since Carlos Maza and VOX, they're a public entity now. So you can challenge their ideas, or you should be able to challenge their ideas without repercussions, and that's not going to happen now. I think the problem is that you can't challenge anybody's ideas that's a protective class. That's already, it's done. I mean, what you see here, that's it. It says there is an argument to be made that many social media platforms are a public utility. Yeah, you are correct. And honestly, Texan, I've gone over this many times. I've laid awake for some reasons at night thinking about, God, are they a public utility? Yes. Are they a platform? Kinda. Are they a private, open public space? Yeah. Can they make their own rules? Yes. But the issue here is, yeah, they're not beholden to the First Amendment, quote unquote. But wait a minute. Let's back the truck up a little bit here for a second. They don't have to follow the First Amendment of the United States. Okay. But what do you say to those people that, let's say they're religious and they don't want to be part of a gay wedding, and they refuse to make a cake, or they refuse to bake a pie, or open their business up for them for someone to have a wedding? Isn't that free protected speech? So basically, you're going to force somebody. See, we're getting into some really weird constitutional craziness, and it's going to. And I think in the next 5 to 6 years, it's going to get real crazy on what you can and can't say, what's allowed speech, what isn't allowed. And yes, you are correct. They have a practical monopoly and act as a modern day public square. Abso-freaking-lutely. They do. Because let's face it, go to your public park and start screaming the crap that I scream right now. You'd get arrested because people are like, what is this guy doing? Get out of town. It was just crazy. The only place where you can actually be heard. Why is my dog? It's funny. I spend the whole day. The dogs don't bark. But the minute I go live, they start barking. Knucklehead. Anyways. But yeah. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, et al. They are the public square. And you get more. You actually can have your voice heard. If you remember back in the 80s, if you wanted your voice heard, you have to write a letter to the editor or become a politician. Very rarely did your voice ever get out there. Now everyone's voice is being heard, and we can't have that. Anybody right of those terrible world leaders I just mentioned a while ago, you're deemed evil. But anybody left who's an authoritarian is not evil? How is that correctly? All right, let's see. Off topic. We'll go off topic for a second. Yurko Musaf made some bootleg music from Nintendo and was selling it, so they are now protected because this even thought there was proven facts. Media is dead. Well, media is not necessarily dead because YouTube is media. Yeah, I guess I could check that out. It says Texan says every class wants equality for all, but special rights for them. Yeah, if you ever read the book Animal Farm, I think was it the pigs? I think it was the pigs. They said everybody is equal. Paraphrasing, of course, but every animal is equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Like, for instance, Carlos Maza is in a protected class. Done. You can't, even though he mocked himself with the same terms, he got mad that Steven Crowder used it against him. You can't use those against him. So he can call you a, I don't know, Carlos Maza can basically call you a homophobe, transphobe, who's afraid of homosexuals? Who's afraid of transgender? I'm not afraid of them. They're just people. Why are you going to see? That's the way to frame an argument against someone you don't like. You call them a name, you call them something X-phobe, and then anything you say after that, you have to sit there and fight against, and you have to like, I am not that. How dare you? And he goes, yeah, you are. I'm a protected class. I can say anything. It's amazing. I don't know. It's this. I mean, I guess we're living in some strange times here, so it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, I'm not making any money. Like I said, I just got a lot of time on my hands, and I'm like, oh, I'll make some videos. The good old double standard. Do as I say, or we'll shut you down. Yeah. You know what? You make a good hypothesis right there. A lot of this started with the progressive left hijacked the Democratic Party. You remember when the healthcare bills come out and they talked about the Blue Dog Democrats, who basically, who was that guy? He was from Detroit. Storka or... Anyways, and he was kind of on the fence. He didn't know what to do. And the Democrat leadership got to him and go, hey, just vote this way, you know. Because back in the 80s, there were Democrats who had conservative values. And they did cross the aisle and vote, you know, on the Republican side. But now, everybody, it seems, I don't know anybody that's in Congress right now, that's on the left, that will vote right. And vice versa. I'm not going to leave the Republicans out of this. But the authoritarians are the progressive left. And they did hijack the Democratic Party. It's done. There is no Democratic Party. You might as well have a hammer and sickle on that donkey's ass. Because they are, dare I say, authoritarians. Disagree with an ardent socialist Democrat from the Liberal Party on the liberal side. They'll throw a milkshake at you and try to beat you and try to get you fired from your job. And so that's what you see, media. And here's the problem too: the news media. They're not. They're biased. They inject themselves in the story, just like what's his nuts? Oh God, from CNN, who always harasses Donald Trump. Oh God, I can't forget that guy's name. He injects himself in the story, and he admitted as so much to say that he antagonizes the president on purpose to create news. Because yes, it was the pigs who said some are more equal than others. 4 legs good, 2 legs better, say the sheep. Yeah. So, and that was one of the questions I want to bring this up too. This is not really off topic, but let's just say, let's go hypothetical here. And you guys in the chat, maybe you can answer this. I'm going to throw this question out to you. If socialists or communists do take over the United States, what are they going to do to people like you and me who are not going to stand down to those authoritarian thugs? What do you think they're going to do? And what kind of force are they going to use against those people that refuse to kowtow to their BS? So I might as well I was going to do a video on this, my answer. I might as well just say it now. They're going to use the full monopolized force of the U.S. government against these people they do not like. It's going to be bad. That's what's going to happen. He says, you used to be old school conservative Democrats. My party was killed off and walked over a cliff. Like lemmings, exactly. You see, I'm in the UK, and this fight is more along the line than the U.S. You guys in the U.S. still need to fight this battle. He says, don't fall to a system where you can get arrested for teaching your dog a trick. Yeah, Count Dankula. Yeah, you always hear this, especially on the conservative side or libertarian side. Europe and the United Kingdom is about I'd say you guys are about 3 years ahead of the United States. You cannot, and Aaron, let's see if you can back me up here on this. In the UK, you have no free speech. There's no free speech. I was watching Vincent James today. He said that they're arresting people for protesting in England. What the hell can you do? How do you ask for redress of grievances with your government if the government uses the full force to arrest you? I don't know what you guys can do. I mean, you guys are hosed. I mean, you guys are. I feel sorry for you. But we're on the same track. The only difference is that you guys have been, they've taken all your ways to resist the government away. Let's put it that way. At least in the United States, there's ways to resist the government. Now, if you're Eric Swalwell, he wants to use nukes on you. But having said that, at least we have ways, because we still have the First Amendment. We can redress the grievances from the government. We can go to Washington, D.C., yell, scream, complain, wave signs, go on social media platforms for the time being and complain. I guess in the UK, you guys can't do that. And then it says, easy. They mark us as the enemy and give us some reason to kill you, lock you up, etc. Yeah, exactly. For the socialists who hypothetically, of course, take over. It says, best case, re-education camps for those who don't arm themselves and annihilation for those who fight back. Yeah. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to go down this rabbit hole of, but I just wanted to ask that question because I don't want to go any farther than, what do you think they would do? I mean, the government is, make no mistake, regardless of our government, it's not that way right now. It can be that way. A lot of people don't understand is that governments turn quite evil pretty quick. What was it? I think it was after World War II in the Czech Republic, I want to say, Czechoslovakia. Within a few years, it turned communist. And before that, it was pretty conservative. But so how did it happen? Governments turn. They can turn. They turn like bad egg salad in the sun. Let's see. Well, if I may correct you, if I correct, you have no free speech if you have a brain and common sense or the wrong opinion. Yeah. So far, there is no thought crimes. They can't really determine what you're thinking in your head unless you say it, they can't know what you mean. But give it time, they'll figure some way to figure it out. The U.S. is the only country in the world that has the freedom of speech enshrined in the founding. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There is no. The United States, luckily, the First Amendment is really important. So that's why there's a lot of stuff that you can say. I think I said this in an earlier video. I'm to the point right now. I'm like almost 100% free speech absolutist. I mean, I think you should be able to say anything without someone saying, "How dare you yell fire in a theater" or something like that. I think you should, because it's dependent on you to go, is there a fire? Let me make sure before I go crazy. Because there's a lot of people that say a lot of things. Should you believe them just because they say it? No. You should do your own research, do your own homework. The Second Amendment is very important because it backs up the First. And the third, well, that one's kind of, it seems like it's outdated, but it really isn't. The 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way to the 10th, even all the way to the 15th. They're pretty damn important. And they keep, basically, the government is restrained by the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't restrain the people. The Constitution is a charter of negative rights, meaning it tells what the government cannot do to you. Just read the Constitution. It tells the government what it can't do to its citizens. Usually, constitutions in other countries tells the government what they can do to the citizens. Ours is the other way around. I'm glad you are texting a free speech absolutist. Yeah, it took me a while to come across it, to really embrace it, I guess. I'm sort of like in the last couple of days, I've actually said, you know what? I don't care what anybody. You should be able to say whatever you want, regardless. See, it's already started. They're investigating Sargon for not wanting to. Oh, yeah, with that one MP, yeah, or someone. At the same time, not invigorating people doing bad things to young people to keep this clean on here. Okay, yeah, you're right. Sargon said he wouldn't blank this person because she basically was laughing at male suicide, and she laughed at it, and he was like pissed about it, and I would be pissed too. And you're right. It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to use your brain. Sadly, people don't. Luckily, when I went to I went to grad school from 2015 to 2017. and graduated. Luckily, I was at a school. I'm not going to tell you what college it was, but it may come out one of these days. But it was a pretty diverse school, and there wasn't a lot of protesting and BS like that. People kind of wanted just to do their work, go to school, and graduate. The people are just more wanting to graduate. But during the 2016 election, it was actually kind of funny because at that before the night's event started, I was like resigned to the fact that I'm like, yeah, old HRC would be the next president. I'm like, ugh. But you know what? I wasn't gonna protest if she won. Out of it, it's like it was just another day. Be like, yeah, you know what? It happens. You know, the people spoke. But when the tide started turning, the next week I went to when I went to school. Holy crap! There were people pissed. Oh, they were hot, and I was like watching the news, and these people just scream at the sky and scream and yell and this and that. And I was thinking, when Obama got elected, I didn't freak out. I was just like, it happens. I don't like the guy, but guess what? He's my president. Moving right along. The problem here is that people are used to getting what they want. And for the last 8 years, they were used to getting what they want with Barack Hussein Obama. By the way, that's his full name. So don't get all... because that's his full name. But, moving right along, when these millennials didn't get their way, or the baby boomers who voted for HRC, they freaked out. And I don't need to belabor the point. They freaked out. They were pissed. And then that's when they started investigating all these weird things like, Trump was being, pro-Russia and all this other crap. And I'm like, wait a minute. This doesn't seem right. Say what you will. Trump says a lot of dumb shit. But he's pretty smart in some areas. Why would he get into bed with a foreign country knowing full well that he already got wind that he was being investigated? Having said that, it's just funny that how when people don't get their way, they freak out. When people like Carlos Maza don't get their way, they go scorched earth, like Tim Pool said. They blew up, metaphorically, of course, not literally. They burned Twitter down to the ground, essentially. I mean, it's still, the foundation's still there. The structure's still there. The Starbucks is in there. But for the most part, the foundation has been burned. And they basically say now they can, through terms of service, retroactively make anything up they want now. So what I say right now can be retroactively deemed negative and bad. Let's see. Texan says, I'm okay with the current Supreme Court interpretation of free speech with the fight words exemption. Yeah, I understand that. I just don't think that just because you say, come on, man, fight me, bro, that you should fight somebody. But again, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, meaning that if someone challenges you to a fight and you don't challenge, or I don't know, I see your point. It's just, we're in some murky territory. See, it shows, Simpson says, it shows how stupid this is, considering if I said what I just said without cutting words out, it would be who... Yeah, exactly. This is almost what they want, Simpson. Self-censorship. See, they make it... Basically what's happening now is they basically make it really difficult to say anything on a platform. And letting you know that if you say X, Y is going to happen to you. Now... Basically what they're saying is that what I just said, you can't say these things. So now people are kind of go to self-censorship. And that's the key thing right there. That's not necessarily a conspiracy theory. It's right in front of our face. They're making us self-censor our words. We can't. I'm actually holding back on things I want to say. Not that they're considered bad, but who knows if it's going to be bad tomorrow? You don't know that. So you can't have a conversation with people anymore. I don't agree with a lot of things Trump does, but it's not the end of the world. Exactly. And believe it or not, think about this, Texan and Simpson. Just think of how good we have it right now. Unless you live in Los Angeles, you're going to get the bubonic plague. But if you live outside Los Angeles, California, the trains are running on time. The economy's good. North Korea's not launching huge ass missiles. I know they've been launching small ones. I get a full belly. The lights are on. I'm warm. Why are we complaining? You know, if you understand what I'm saying? My theory is that we've had it so good for so long, we're looking for shit to bitch about. Thanks for the sub. And like the Texan saying, you're right. The problem is that social media has divorced us from actually sitting down with people and talking. We can't, because now everyone just goes so fired up and pissed off that we have to argue our point. And if you don't believe what we say, how dare you? I mean, I remember when you wanted to know someone's opinion, you'd have to read the letter to the editor in your local newspaper or the New York Times, that's like the LA Los Angeles City edition or the San Diego California edition or the San Francisco edition, etc. And you read it and go, wow, what an idiot. And you move on with your day. Now, social media, it's like they've got a psychologist and they devised a system of pressing a feeder bar for a reward, such as you're rewarded. Whatever echo chamber, we're all in an echo chamber. Let's be honest about that. And it feels good to be in the echo chamber to say things that other people agree with. Right? Because I mean, how would you like to go to your job every day and then say things that people don't agree with you, and they just start yelling at you? Oh, you suck. They would get pretty messed up. But now we can't talk, especially on social media. Twitter and Reddit is a dumpster fire. You can't go on there and have a dissenting opinion because you get blocked, muted. How dare you? You ex-phobe, you this, you that, and all these names come out, and you're just like, what? I just disagree with you. So Sally, I'm part of the generation, mean that 35. However, I do understand how they've gone insane. I guess I was very different. Yeah, I'm 44, so I've seen some stuff. Not really, but I don't know. It's just people like Carlos Maza is basically Carlos Maza and VOX and Joseph Bernstein of BuzzFeed. They basically made it almost impossible to have a normal, cogent disagreement with somebody. You can't, because once you disagree with people like Joseph Bernstein and Carlos Maza, they try to find a way to destroy your livelihood, destroy your family. There's a specific term for people who try to destroy you because they don't agree with what you're thinking. Not going to say it, but if you kind of noodle around for a while, you can figure out what I'm implying here. It's the ability to agree with and disagree, and the collection of diverse ideas is part of what made this country great. Exactly. But it wasn't always like that, because if you look back during the first couple of presidents, they said some pretty nasty things. And then Preston Brooks of South Carolina, who was a Democrat, almost killed Charles Sumner in the Capitol building in 1853, I want to say. Preston Brooks almost beat him to death with a cane because Charles Sumner was anti-slavery, and he basically called out one of the either senators or congressmen in South Carolina. It pissed off Preston Brooks, and he almost killed a Republican who was a senator, Republican Senator Charles Sumner. He was never the same afterwards. You know what happened to Preston Brooks, by the way? Zilch. Nothing. Nothing happened to him. I think he got fined like $35, but then that created a sort of like a thing where people started wearing little chains with little clubs, like a little necklace around their neck, to give support to Preston Brooks. So it wasn't always roses back then, but it was a lot better. I think there was a lot more respect, if you will. But even then, there wasn't much respect because there's people that hated Andrew Jackson. I mean, they thought he was an emperor, and they wanted him. And granted, Andrew Jackson was not the most virtuous president, if you will. There's a lot of things he did before and after he was president that, you know, that's why, like, when they were wanting to take him off the $20 bill and put Harriet Tubman, I'm like, okay, I can see that. But then Trump sort of kiboshed that. So, let's see. I did read one story on how some people think the world is donut shaped. Oh yeah, or the world is on the back. The world is flat on the back of a turtle floating in space. I read that too. Yeah. But I think a lot of those people who the flat earthers, I think they're just trolling us. I think they're screwing with us. I don't really think they believe that. Because the Greeks already knew back in 3000 BC, I think, they already knew the earth was round. They did it with math. So whatever, that's a moot point, and I want to talk about it. Yeah, the 1800 election was nasty. Yep, real nasty. So was the 1848 election. That's when the Whig Party pretty much exploded and went into the dustbin of history. That's when the Republican Party sort of started to come about. But it was the Free Soil Party that was a conglomeration of the Whigs, Southern Democrats, Northern Democrats, and some other smaller political parties. But eventually the Free Soil Party turned into the Republican Party. But yeah, that 1848, I did a whole paper on, whole 30 pages on just 6 months of the 1848 election. I'm not going to read it, but it was, for me, it was kind of cool to read what was going on. It's not great for you guys because you guys were like, you probably think, oh, geez, this is boring as shit. But yeah, I liked Andrew Jackson when he kind of tore down the Bank of the United States. And Earl, hold on, I got a book just about that. Let's see, here it is. I'll put it up on the webcam. Let's see, and I'll come up here in a second if it's not already. Oh, hold on. All right. Jackson versus Biddle's Bank, the struggle over the second bank in the United States. I'll leave that up there. But yeah. Yeah, so that was there's a lot of weird during that whole thing about Andrew Jackson destroying the bank. And I want to say it was the last time the United States paid off all its debts. But you see, it didn't destroy the bank per se. There was still, every state had their own bank, if you will. So it wasn't like, yeah, they got rid of the federal bank, but they didn't get rid of the state banks, which was sort of an issue. Regardless, it's actually an interesting read. This book here, it's by, it's a bunch of different papers. It's edited by George Rogers Taylor. It's called The Jackson versus Biddle's Bank, the struggle over the second bank in the United States. It's pretty interesting. To me, it was interesting. Probably not for most of you people. Yeah, I'm a history buff myself. Unfortunately, there's no money in it. Yeah, there isn't. But what's good about history is that once you learn it, you find out things that you weren't taught. And I want to know, Simpson, maybe you can answer this. You're from the UK. In your school system, what are you taught about? Oops. What are you taught about the American Revolution? I'm kind of curious about that because I want to get somebody who actually is from there and not just reading something on the internet. No, we weren't debt free because the bank came back after Jackson left eventually. And we got into the Gilded Age and we hit another economic downturn in 1873, I want to say. Something like that. So yeah, there was an economic downturn before the Civil War. There was a sort of one after the Civil War. And then while the Reconstruction efforts going on, it hit in 1873. It hit most of the South pretty hard. But it didn't really hit the expansion out west with the railroad. It kind of did because there's a lot of railroads that were built that didn't go anywhere. It's kind of that's another interesting age in the United States, the Gilded Age. It's pretty interesting. What a lot of people don't know is that the United States, they weren't a world power. We were a backwater. Like Europe, they were like, once Germany unified in I think 70s-ish. Once Germany became unified, which was a harbinger of bad things to come. You had the Crimean War. You had a lot of these little wars, and they were dividing up Africa and the Caribbean. And at that time, let's see, Gran Colombia collapsed, and the states, those Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Bolivia, Paraguay. Brazil didn't count because they were Portuguese. So they all created their own entities. They fought back into Spanish. At that time, Panama was still part of Colombia. They tried to unify. There's a lot of weird things that was going on, but the United States was a backwater. We were a third-tier power. Our Navy was so-so. It was so-so enough that Commodore Perry went over to Japan and said, "You will trade with the rest of the world," which, if you read listen to Dan Carlin's podcast, that pretty much forcefully opened up Japan, and they started to get some really wacky ideas about things, and we all know how that happened. What happened after that? Let's see. Right, there was no federal currency until the Civil War. The states all had their own currency. Exactly. So if you tried to, let's say, use your currency from, let's say, North Carolina in Massachusetts, the exchange rates changed stupidly. They were just going out of control. And so a lot of times people just traded either gold or they just bartered, I think. I'm not real familiar with it, but let's see what Simpson says. It says, well, my time, as far as I can remember, go back 20 years, and grossly simplifying this, but my opinion on that from what I remember is that. So yeah, there was just, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of went off topic here, but that's cool. I didn't really want to keep talking about this VOX apocalypse. It's because there's nothing I can do about it. I can talk about it, but I have no power in affecting any of this. Now you guys know about it, and what can you guys do about it? Nothing, not at all. But yeah, one of my favorite periods of the American history was right after the American Revolution. Here's an interesting fun fact. See, the Germans built an integrated rail system before they even formed. Yeah, and while the United States were arguing whether or not to build a second national railroad, exactly. 200 caps. Give me a minute. Okay, so, my favorite period of the United States is right after the American Revolution, because right after the American Revolution, there was no president. There was a body that was sort of running things. Interesting fun fact: one of the first countries to acknowledge and to recognize the United States was Morocco. Because in what was it, 1784, the Barbary state of Morocco captured a ship. Only reason they captured the American ship was to get the United States to talk to them, because they felt like after a while they weren't talking to them and they wanted to be talked to, and they said, hey, you know, we still exist. And Morocco acknowledged that the United States existed, and after that I think France and the Netherlands, eventually England, the Papal States of Italy, because Italy didn't exist in its current state as we know now. They had the country of Piedmont. They had the city-state of Venice, I think. I'd have to look at this, but there was the Barbary states harassed all of Europe, but Europe never bothered with them, which is kind of weird. I know I'm going off the topic here. The Barbary states went so far in let's see if I can find it. I don't know if you can see that there. Algiers attacked Baltimore, Ireland in 1631. Before that or after that, they attacked Iceland and kidnapped and enslaved people. I mean, I wasn't taught that in, high school or grade school, whatever. But yeah, they harassed the United States, and there was a big deal that Washington, Madison, Monroe, Adams, Jefferson, they all argued on what to do with the Barbary states. The Barbary states were a conglomeration of Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, and a few smaller ones. Because at the time, they were under loose control by the Ottoman Empire. Real loose control. And you're exactly right, Texan. The British encouraged the Barbary pirates to attack U.S. shipping. And even at the time, the United States had a quasi-war with France. But yeah, because they wanted to punish the United States. So they encouraged the Barbary states, in not so many words, of course. They basically said, hey, you can, as long as you don't attack us, just attack them. And it took, the United States dealt with the Barbary states until they couldn't deal with them again. They attacked, they had the first Barbary War. It didn't really do anything. And then the second Barbary War didn't really do anything. But by that time, by 1830, the Barbary states were sort of being gobbled up internally, politically. And so they weren't much of a threat after 1830. They kind of just disappeared with the creation of... I think the Spanish finally got tired of dealing with the crap, and the French, and they just kind of went over there and kind of... They basically failed on their own. It was just... They were just a loose conglomeration of city-states that harassed shipping in the Mediterranean and Iceland and Ireland and outside the Straits of Gibraltar. So it's kind of interesting that whole time, like what the United States was doing, because there's a couple of people that goes, we need more ships, and they're like, well, we don't have any money. And finally, when they got ships, and they actually started fighting back against them, it was just an interesting time. Let's see. Says, but my opinion is that the U.S. and UK at the time wanted to try to lay claim to the USA, but make it part of the UK and better educate the people of the USA to our ideals. Yeah, what they basically, the books I read, and what they tell us is that after the 7 Years' War, I think it was, Britain was very well in debt after fighting war with France. And they tried to tax the colonies, and the colonies were like, wait a minute, why are you taxing us? Even though technically we probably should have, they probably should have paid the tax. But we had no representation in Parliament. We were just like, we're a colony. They were like, you just shut up and do what we tell you. And here's a fun fact. Not everybody wanted to revolt against Britain. There was a lot of royalists and loyalists that wanted to stay. Even after the American Revolution, they were like, they wanted to stay, but they were getting harassed by the revolutionaries, and so a lot of them left, and they wanted nothing to do with it. So they left all their. They might have been like third generation, Americans, but after the war, they're like, I don't even recognize this country, and they all went back. Yep, yeah, I think this is what I'm talking about. They took the entire. I think it was England, Ireland. It was called it was Attack on Baltimore, 1631. Let's see if I can pull it up. Yeah. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this is by Henry Barnaby, good writer. This is from a paper published online, 2013. Yeah, so it was southwest of Cork, Ireland. At 2 a.m., 2 Algerian ships dropped anchor, went into the town, and decimated it. Captured a bunch of people and booked it back to Algiers. And then the sack of Baltimore, that town never really recovered until many years later. So I think I remember that how New England came to become the United States. Right, exactly. The tribute the pirates wanted. And that was... See, Algiers was willing to, in my opinion, Algiers was willing wanted to negotiate with a little more easier. They were a little more easier to negotiate. There was a guy named James Leander Cathcart. He wrote his memoirs called "Captive 11 Years" or "Slave." I think what's it called? 11 Years a Slave, his 11 years of captivity in Algiers. He was an Irish citizen. His parents gave him over to his uncle. He was a ship captain. At 11 years old during the American Revolution, he was captured by the British, spent 2 years on board a prison ship, escaped, and at the age of 18 was captured by the Algerians. But this guy became, after many years, he became an advisor to the Dey of Algiers, which is basically the king. So this guy with no pedigree, and he owned a bunch of taverns in the prisons there. He had he taught himself, I guess, 5 or 6 different languages. He became essentially what would you consider the ambassador to Tripoli, but that didn't work too well because the Tripolian I think they call him the Pasha. The Pasha didn't like him because he had a reputation, and they said if he returned to Tripoli, they were gonna behead him. But yeah, it says if you like the old style text on old books. Know why? See, we basically didn't want to pay for our fair share of taxes. Yep. The worst thing would have been to allow U.S. representation. We would have been easily outvoted. Exactly. But at least we'd have representation. But you know what? Here's an interesting fact. And if you do the research, I think you can find it. There are some pamphlets out of England during from 1770 to 1775, where there was people in England, in London, etc., that wanted to allow the United States to break away. They were like, yeah, let's let them break away because it doesn't hurt us. But King George didn't want that to happen. That was a sore subject for King George even after the war. He's like, I'm not gonna let these colonists dictate what this royal king does in this world because I am royalty, goddammit, I'll do what I want. And didn't work out for him. Oh boy. So I'm gonna spend about an hour and 15. So I'm gonna conclude this hour 19. So yeah, the banhammer came out. Well, it's not really a banhammer. I just use it because I like saying banhammer. So Carlos Maza and far left Vox Media basically used scorched earth tactics on basically small creators because this didn't hurt the large ones. So yeah. And then we got into talking about history because I got bored of it. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for listening to me rant on here. So yeah, I guess we have to watch what we say now. Let's see. You know where it gets my head in a spin is all this rhetoric put in video games when 9 times out of 10 it don't fit the game. Yeah, exactly. I know what you're saying. I might talk about that later. The social justice bullcrap. I watched Godzilla today. I just got back actually before I started streaming. I went inside and saw it. One of the female characters, she was like, "Yes, I'm awakening all these evil, titans because the world needs to be, addressed in flame and restarted." It's like, what? It was a lot of bullcrap. So, yeah, exactly, Vox Media. So I'm gonna do the hashtag, which I don't know if I came up with it. Hashtag VOX Apocalypse. VOX Apocalypse. Or the Maza Apocalypse. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, is this the end of the world? No. But it's just a minor inconvenience, if you will. It just shows you how these media conglomerates have all this freaking power. Because if I had a problem, I can't go to YouTube and go, you know what? I have a problem with X. You know what they would tell me? They'd tell me to go F myself. Because I don't mean anything to them. Thank you, Simpson. Yeah, it looks to me that, and I lived in many different countries over my life, that the United States is pretty unique. People don't want to admit to it. People don't understand. It's like people are coming here on leaky boats and rafts and cardboard boxes and jumping over rivers to get to this country. It must mean the rest of the world sucks. What's the one thing we can do before I lock this up? Because I would love to know. Because I guess boycott, but I don't know. I don't know if boycotts mean anything anymore. I'm not a boycotting kind of person. I'd love to boycott Amazon, but I like my crap getting to me in the next day. But yeah, I guess if I'm not able, ready, or willing to boycott an entity like Amazon or YouTube or Google, then I guess I'm not there yet. It's not as bad. Yeah, they're only as powerful as the money they have. If we stop supporting them, they'll dry up. Technically, you're correct on the surface. It's just that they got their steely fingers in every single thing we do. It's almost impossible. I think I did one of my videos. Try to do anything without on some sort of Google platform or Amazon or the old son many talks, exactly. Try to get your news from a newspaper that isn't owned by a conglomerate. Yeah, I don't know. Yep, I guess that's the world we live in. So, what are you going to do? All right, guys. Hey, thanks for responding here on the chat and keeping it civil. That's good. I'm not a fan of strife, but also I am a fan of it too. I don't know. It's kind of like that kind of movie. It goes, I hate people, but I love crowds. All right, guys, take it easy. This is Laszlo out.